Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Reporter Telegram's Area Football Report. Well, it's playoff time, folks. We're through 11 weeks of the regular season. It's playoff time. Watered down as they may be to some of us, the UIL playoffs, they're here. So those who made it, they're happy. Those who didn't, they're packing up their stuff, getting ready for basketball. It's going to be an interesting playoff season. It's been an interesting regular season already, Oscar. Just what was the kind of the biggest surprise you saw this year during the regular season?
Well, I didn't see too many surprises, to be honest with you. Like we've talked about before, Coahoma was maybe a surprise to some people, not to me. I thought they were going to make the playoffs. I thought Monahan's going undefeated during the regular season. I thought that was the biggest surprise to me because I didn't think they'd be as good as last year. I thought they'd still be pretty good, and I thought they'd win District 4-3A, but for them to go and stay perfect and play as well as they did, and I think, to me, they're playing as good or better maybe than last year, and they're healthier last year than last year. Last year's team could have gone a long way, but injuries caught up with them, especially in the backfield. You had your starting quarterback, you had your starting running back, you had your starting fullback gone by the time they got to the area game against Graham. But Greenwood struggling. That wasn't too much of a surprise. I thought they'd score a few more points.
I thought they'd make the playoffs, seriously. I thought they'd get going as the year got. By the time district rolled around, but when district rolled around, they had so many injuries.
Yeah,
they
but
just really struggled.
You also look at that, the top half of that district. I thought those teams were pretty loaded going in.
That's true.
Seminole struggled early on, but Seminole, they get it together by the time district starts. And they did. Andrews had, of course, all those seniors come back, and Monahan's is Monahan. So that was a tough road for Greenwood to get in, but just them not scoring as much as I thought they would under the spread offense.
Right.
That's probably one of the biggest surprises for me.
They've got a year to work on it now. They got an off season, an off season time, and then they got the summer to work on it. So it'll be interesting to see if they do 7-on-7 out there at Greenwood. Well, Oscar, we'll start off in Class 3A. Andrews gets themselves in the playoffs. They did lose last week to Monahan's. They seem to be much more competitive than they have been in the last couple years. They go into a Class 3A Division I bracket that's ripe for the taking, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. And, I was looking at that bracket the other day, and it just doesn't seem, nobody stands out.
Right.
And they could easily get to the state quarterfinals like they had the last, when was it? Last year under Blaine Springston, was it 3 years ago?
Yes.
They got to the state quarterfinals. They lost to Abilene Wiley that year, but, that team, is clicking on offense, playing pretty solid on defense, and they could go far. And they got Mountain View, and that's pretty much a scrimmage for them.
Right. Their second round game is it'll be a tough one. But I mean, I think they've got winnable games along the way. Even if they have to play Abilene Wiley, they've got a distinct chance. The only problem is state semifinals, they're likely to see Salina. So
it gets tougher.
It'll be a good run.
As you would expect.
Right. Monahan's, though, we were just talking about this. We were sitting there in the office looking at that bracket. They couldn't have got worse draws, could they, for their playoff?
They've got Clint, which of course comes off that just god awful district, and
right.
Not to put it, any sugarcoating on that,
right.
But it gets tougher. Estacado or Dalhart, is that right? And,
yes.
I mean, those two teams are pretty good.
Yes.
Last time I saw, and then they would have Snyder maybe in the regional round.
Kennedale, who's new to the region this year.
A lot of good teams.
It's
gonna be a lot tough. It's gonna be as tough as last year when they had to play Graham in the area round.
Right. It'll be an interesting year for Monahan's, but if they keep everybody healthy, they seem to be clicking on all phases right now. They got a lot of playmakers on that team. We were talking about that. Class 2A is going to be interesting for us as a paper to follow between Stanton and Coahoma, coming out of 2-2A Division II. These two teams, 2-2A is an interesting bracket simply because all the powers in Class 2A are in Division I. Your Muleshoes, your Littlefields, people like that. They might, there's a possibility you could see Idalou again. Idalou does get a bye, but both Stanton and Coahoma, they have really good shots to win some playoff games, don't they?
As long as they play good defense, I think that's the area that's been carrying them throughout the whole year. And in the playoffs, defense goes a long way.
Right. And
they're not really that explosive on offense, but boy, when they just get clicking, they can score a lot of points, and they're known to do that. Coahoma with their wing T offense, they're not fancy. You're not going to see them break off 50-yard runs or anything like that, but they're just going to grind it, about 400 yards.
Well,
on the ground and stuff. So
I think Trey Gardner's happy if he can get 3, 4, or 5 yards a pop and just keep matriculating the ball. Getting that ball down the field and using the clock. Which one of these two do you think has the best shot to go deep?
I'm going to have to go with Stanton because of their playoff experience.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there last couple of years, and I like them. There's a large senior class, and we talked about the lack of explosiveness, but Stanton just has a little bit just because of Tyler Fulton, at quarterback. And I like him. So if they can just get enough of those plays, I think they can go a few rounds deep. Do
you always have the sense that Tyler could have a breakout game one of these days? I mean, is there? I've kind of been waiting for it for 3 years.
That's not their offense.
That's true.
They're going to pound the ball, especially with Blake Evans, tough kid, 210-pound running back, a sophomore only, and he got good size, and he just runs over people, and that's their offense. They're just going to run over people and play good defense.
It'd be interesting. Coahuma's got an interesting matchup with Spearman. Stanton will play Abernathy. It's going to be interesting games, and plus they will play. I think Stanton could possibly face Holiday, and I'm not sure who Coahoma would play in the next round. So they've definitely got some winnable games. Those two teams could be playing at least. I think possibly at least till Thanksgiving, and then things could get kind of dicey from there. We go to the 6-man ranks here real quick. Garden City, Grady, and Rankin. All 3 teams in our coverage area all made it. Garden City not a surprise. Grady a little bit of a surprise. But Rankin, 3-7, they won the games they needed to get in. Looking at their bracket, they've got a chance to win a playoff game. They likely would face, Ira in the second round or Grady in the second round. But what does that say for Coach Williams to be able to go through what that team has gone through to still be able to make the playoffs? It helps they played a Sierra Blanca team, but they did beat Fort Davis in the process of that.
Yeah, I mean, in a 14 district, anything can happen, and I think that's what he kept reminding his kids. Anything can happen. We got 3 games, and let's win the games that count. Of course, Garden City was just,
right.
Might as well concede that one going in.
Right.
But when you take care of Sierra Blanca and say, all we have to do is beat Fort Davis, we're in. That's what they did, and it doesn't matter if they can go winless in non-district as long as you win the games and the way it's set up. It doesn't matter,
There's no BCS, no points,
there's no invitation. There's not an invitational tournament or anything like that.
Right.
They're not playing for a seed, or at large bid. It's just just win the games you're supposed to win, and that's what they did.
It'll be interesting. I really think they can win their first round game. I really do. I think they have a shot to do it. Grady, meanwhile.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Water Valley only beat them by 4 points.
Yeah, in Rankin. They still, and I think Coach Shannon Williams is still mad about that game.
Yeah, that game could go either way.
That's right.
Rankin could have a shot.
Yeah, they definitely could. Garden City, looking at obviously their playoff road is going to be tough. They play Robert Lee this week. They face Garden. They likely could play Borden County, possibly Ira, maybe Grady. Down the road, they could see Meadow. Then they're going to see Throckmorton in the state title game. Could Garden City repeat?
It's going to be tough, but they have the players to do it. They have that moxie, and they know they're good.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to. If they can come up with enough stops, I think that's going to be the key. They faced all those tough teams last year, and that experience helps them this year, especially.
They're so explosive on offense.
You have Josh Kalunga, you have. Brett Huge just basically runs over people. At the end position. Of course, Blaine Botla, has a lot of poise for just a junior quarterback. They have a lot of playmakers. Yeah. And that's going to be the difference, in the playoff run, because you're going to see the scores just like last year, 102 to 98. Maybe,
right.
So it's going to be that type of playoff score for the Bearcats.
Doesn't help Coach Kobe Abney's defense when the points get that out. They still win games. And Grady, surprised to me that they did as well as they did. I think Coach Cox has changed a little bit of their attitude a little bit. Grady seems to be a kind of a sleeper team. They have. I think they got a shot to beat Ira this week. Is that a team we could be seeing playing in a couple weeks? You think?
Yeah, they could. Ira's going to be tough. I mean, that's a tough first round game to start off with. But if they can get past Ira, they can get some confidence, and they could get on a roll.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And finally, private schools, Midland Christian. This team probably has a lot more moxie, a lot more swagger than teams have had in the last couple of years at Midland Christian. There seems to be a sense with this team. You've seen them, a couple of times this year. I think you saw them against Monahans, didn't play very well. You saw them against Seminole as well. This team, do you think this team has potential to win another state title again?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they roll to their district. Usually the district they're in is usually one of the toughest in that division. So, they roll through that district like, they weren't even challenged, were they?
Grapevine Faith first half. That's it.
Okay,
that's it.
First half, but
other than that, I guess you count it up. You got 20 quarters. They had 2 quarters where they didn't play well.
And it seems like they're making enough stops. I think that was the biggest question going in this season, whether they had a good enough defense to match their offense, because they're really explosive on offense. Now their defense is going to have to make some plays down the road. It may not be early, but it's going to be maybe in third round where they're going to have to step up and see what kind of defense they're really made of.
Right. It's good. Their bracket plays out really interesting. They likely, if they get that deep, they likely could play Dallas Parish Episcopal in the final, which is in Temple this year on Saturday, December 4th, I believe. So it's going to be an interesting playoff year. One real quick question, Oscar: who do you think is going to go deepest?
Garden City.
Really?
I'm going to have to go with Garden City, the Bearcats. They're the defending state champs. They did last year. Why not do it again this year?
Yeah, I have to agree with that one. They're going to be playing the second. I think they're going to be playing the second week of December in Shotwell. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here on the Midland Reporter Telegram's Area Football Report. I'm Len Hayward. That's Oscar Leroy. Enjoy your playoff games this weekend.